Hey, Ellie, thanks for letting me call.
No problem. What's up?
I don't know, actually. I haven't been able to get a hold of Alec in a couple of days. Every time I call him, it hangs up immediately, and this weird Discord bot sends me a bunch of pictures of his feet.
How do you know they're his feet? Okay, well, have you tried calling the bot?
No, but that is a good idea. Should I add him to the call?
Yeah.
All right, let me try that right now.
Guys, yes! Finally! I've been sending pictures of my feet for nearly a fucking week. You know that's the signal.
Mitchell, a week?
I'm sorry. I'm only a man.
Mitch, shut the fuck up. Shut up. This is serious. I'm trapped.
Alec, if you let go of the chips, you can get your hand out of the Pringle can.
Okay, no. All right, just listen. I got my COVID vaccine, and I don't have the Rona. That's the good news. But what I do have is a classic case of being stuck in the fucking grid.
The grid?
The Discord grid, Ellie, like from Tron, but shitty. Keep up.
Right, exactly. And the only way out of this goddamn place is if this goddamn video gets 10 goddamn likes.
Ooh.
Wait, we can get that, right?
Yeah, bad news, buddy. Not on this series.
Unless
What, Ellie?
it's finally come to this I'm writing a review!
Yes!
Yeah!
Style. You either have it or you don't. You're either Alec or you're me. You can get by without it, but things sure are sweeter if you've got it. Here's the thing though. Isn't it true that those who have striking style often have other qualities that are just as striking, for better or for worse? Enter Narita Boy, Team 17's answer to the question we should all be asking ourselves: where the fuck are the Tron games? Aesthetically, we have a wonderful marriage of Hyperlight Drifter and Tron, so pixel art enthusiasts, look no further and download away. Musically, we've got crashing synths and 80s disco grooves baked right into the game's very lore, which is where I need you to buckle up because we're about to get a little wild. Narita Boy's story is a lot. You are Narita Boy, a Tron equivalent. You are a hero born from the source code of the game system bearing your name. The creator of said system is in peril, and only you can navigate the system architecture, slay the demons blocking your path, claim techno keys, solve puzzles, and obtain the creator's memories in order to save him. These memories are delivered in odd vignettes, where the creator narrates his childhood traumas as a floating TV. Yeah, like I said, shit gets weird. Along the way, you'll meet religious zealots eager to talk your ear off with technobabble that is high quality but dense and abundant. A little restraint might have gone a long way here. Traversal and exploration is rewarding aside from two issues. 1, gimme map. 2, fix door so I don't have to stand in a specific spot to use. Combat is difficult but fun once you get the handle of the knockback and recharge mechanics, and the enemies are varied and unique enough to keep things interesting. All these components together create a fresh experience that does well to feed your sense of discovery. But this game is not shy about its influences and has little to no restraint, sometimes to a fault. However, best Tron game yet, so that's gonna be yes for me, dog.
When first invited to write a review about Undertale for FreebieTV, I was honored to be considered one of the latest discount daddies. Undertale was one of my favorite games when it was first released in 2015. This was the perfect time for this game to show up in my life. I was in college, depressed as hell, undermedicated, overcaffeinated, and needed an escape from reality. Undertale was the escape I needed during a tough time. It also wrecked me. Undertale is a 2D role-playing game created and composed by Toby Fox, an indie developer who was 23 when he created the game. Wait, 23? What was I doing when I was 23? I was spending most days eating hot Cheetos and playing Overwatch. I'm 26 now, and I'm spending my days doing the same goddamn thing. Except now I have a dog. Who let me take care of a dog? What am I doing with my life? I've lived a quarter of a century. What do I have to show for it? 331 depression-filled hours of Stardew Valley? Sorry, okay, sorry. Where was I? I could spend this time going over why this game's amazing, but it's been out for a while and there are many more qualified people who have reviewed it, so I will just say why I think you should download it for free from Game Pass today. In a time full of battle royales and multiplayer competitive video games that often cause rifts between friends,
Here's the thing.
Nobody looks at the cams
If you're
so
going
early
to
on in the game. Where they have
rush me,
tasks to
will
do?
you let me speak?
No, not at all.
Undertale is a perfect game for the introverts to take a break. I'm not saying it's a game to release stress because, I mean, it gets difficult. But the writing is brilliant, funny, and sometimes heartbreaking. You often forget you're playing a video game because you are so into the story and the humor of even the smallest of characters. You play as a child thrown into the underground world full of monsters, dogs, and beings that mostly see humans as the enemy. You find some friends and lovers along the way. But you're trying to find your way to the surface. The character is sort of a blank slate, which means you can insert yourself and get lost into this strange world, which I needed more during 2021 than 2015. The first time I played this, I listened to Flowey and I killed my way through the world. But this time, I played the pacifist and got out of every battle without killing anyone, even if it was more difficult. I'm not going to say it's a perfect game. It's visually pretty simple, but as someone who grew up on games like these, the writing, emotions, and music more than compensated for some flaws. Just play the game. If not for its goofy moments, wonderful music, and charming character building, then to escape for a moment into the absurd fantasy of Undertale.
Now, I know we're all sick to death of shooting Nazi zombies, except psych, that shit never gets old, and I am sure glad Rebellion Developments can read the room well enough to give the people what they want. Zombie Army 4, Dead War. That being said, I'm a game reviewer, and as such, I know that good first impressions are absolutely everything, and it all started with the splash screen offering me the option of running the game with Vulkan. So yeah, I set my graphics to ultra across the board and engaged in the shamelessly masturbatory exercise of running the benchmark. I was not disappointed. The real draw of this game for me was the fact that the campaign can be played entirely in co-op, and as is customary, I invited Mitch along for the ride. Right off the bat, I noticed a lot of similarities between Zombie Army and World War Z, but there are some key differences. While World War Z tends towards throwing endless hordes of hundreds of zombies towards the players all at once, Zombie Army, on the other hand, seems to prefer smaller numbers of tougher enemies. What's more is that somehow, some of these zombies have the inexplicable ability to operate everything from firearms to armored personnel carriers and tanks. Some of them have even mastered the art of suicide bombing, earning themselves the name of Suiciders? Jesus Christ. Yeah, that's kind of the thing about Zombie Army 4. This isn't groundbreaking shit. I'd even venture to say at times it seems rather uninspired. On the other hand, why would it be anything else? It's a zombie Nazi shoot 'em up. If you're looking for a game in this genre and you're looking for an enthralling story at the same time in a complex gameplay loop or literally anything requiring even a modicum of creativity, instead of Zombie Army 4, I'd recommend a fucking reality check. What I'm trying to say is that this game does exactly what it says on the tin. If you're looking to engage in endless zombie killing hilarity with a couple of friends, this is some top shelf shit, I tell ya. In fact, this game is on track to become one of my go-tos for mindless co-op shooter action. I can't speak to how it is solo, but if you've got a squad, round them up because there are Nazis afoot.
I get it. You're like me. You saw a trailer for Genesis Noir and went, wow, I don't know if I've seen anything like that before. And like I said, I understand you. It's breathtaking. Developers at Fellow Traveler have really outdone themselves. I'd honestly go as far to say as this is some of the best animation I've seen in the medium of gaming as a whole, and they should really be proud. Hats off to them. But is it a good game? Let's investigate. The premise. You are No Man, a watch peddler caught in a love triangle with two cosmic beings, Miss Mass and Golden Boy. When Golden Boy catches you and Miss Mass together, he fires a bullet toward her heart that is the literal Big Bang, as in the beginning of time. You ever heard of it? It is your task to jump into the rifts of the Big Bang itself in an attempt to save your lover. So the premise is airtight. A few more questions though. What about the gameplay? Oh, it's utter dog shit? Yeah, it is. Controls are either finely tuned or messy as ass, and there's no in between. Scenes are laid out artistically first, which has merit, but there are no hints. Slowly moving the cursor over every single item in order to stumble through the encounter was common. And while I would enjoy my segments in between puzzles, if that's what you'd call some of this weird shit, I actually really detested playing the game itself. So I guess that's it. Guilty of being a sexy criminal. Not worth your time to play, but 100% worth a viewing of the shortest Let's Play you can find.
I had never played a Yakuza game before, and when I saw that Yakuza 6, The Song of Life by Sega got added to Game Pass, I drafted it because I should. I started the game and strapped in for about an hour of cutscenes, as it turns out. That surprised me initially, but I've come to realize that it makes sense after all. You see, my assumption was that this game was going to be something to the tune of Grand Theft Auto, only way more Japanese. It's not. Well, it's Japanese. It's just not much like Grand Theft Auto. You know what I mean. Anyway, it's a story-focused game that follows the journey of a handful of important characters as they navigate the complexities of life in a city dominated by organized crime. When I came to understand that, paired with the fact that I had jumped into the story several installments behind, I understood that I had some catching up to do, and I was in fact grateful for the synopsis. Once I finally got to the playable portion of the game, imagine my surprise when I realized the whole game was viewed from a third-person top-down perspective set 2 feet from the top of Kazuma Kiryu's head. I thought this was total fucking bullshit, so I closed the game and complained to Mitch about it. Mitch had a big brain moment and reminded me that I'm a giant fucking nerd who owns a HOTAS setup, which has a way of interfering with stuff like camera controls when it's powered on. He also reminded me that we've had this exact problem before and told me to stop bothering him with my doo-doo brain problems. After briefly entertaining the possibility of just playing the whole game with the joystick and throttle for the memes, I decided to concede to reason for once in my stupid-ass life and unplug the damn thing. The results were incredible. I fell in love with this game. Yakuza 6 defied my expectations at every turn. Where I expected a violent crime spree through the streets of Japan, I was instead offered a violent crime spree through the streets of Japan starring the biggest sweetheart in the world. The story is captivating and emotional. The graphics are phenomenal. The world is lively and vibrant, and every character is quirky, unique, and complex. Even the side missions and minigames offer a worthwhile diversion from the main story. Various arcades around the world allow the player to mess with some pretty cool old Japanese arcade games like Shitty Tetris, for example, and my personal favorite, Shitty Tekken. Also, some NPC pointed out that I could go to an internet cafe and live chat with Honri Okita, so I ran over there and did that for a while, and I'm not even a little ashamed. I mean, who's Honri Okita? Oh, Jesus Christ, I hope my parents never see this. My only complaints about the game are these. First, it's pretty easy. Even on hard mode, especially with the abundance of healing items, it's just too easy to absolutely dunk on fools in every fight. That doesn't bother me too much though, because first of all, it's pretty fun to just absolutely waste baddies left and right. Plus, this game is just as much about fighting as it is about exploration, as it is about the story. I almost think that if combat in the open world was too difficult, it might be a deterrent from venturing out and exploring everything that Yakuza 6 has to offer. Also, I mentioned that most of the side missions are great, but every once in a while I'd play one that required nothing more than running from point A to B and then talking to some guy at point B who tells you to get something at point C and bring it to point D and on and on and on. I get it. It encourages exploration, but damn, you know, a little substance would be nice. Easy solution though, just ignore the sub-story missions unless they really pique your interest for one reason or another. That's absolutely it for criticisms though. I highly recommend this game to anybody, and I'm absolutely going to make time to play this all the way through. Just remember, real Yakuza, use a flight stick.
Superland was a happy surprise to see on Game Pass. I've had it wishlisted since it hit early access way back in 2018 and have balked on buying it several times over the years for one reason or another. So seeing it show up in the recently added queue felt like someone handed me a 20. This is how I rationalize my gaming problem. Superland is a unique beast developed by a one-person studio, Super Games. The player finds themselves playing as a stickman hero, tasked with some yada yada kingdom in a sandbox saving nonsense. Look, you're not going to play this game for its story, but you will be playing it, and here's why. When a one-person team executes on a vision well, the result has the chance to be entirely original within its genre. Like Concerned Ape's Stardew Valley or Matt Makes Games Celeste, Superland finds a way to create a special experience in the saturated first-person puzzler space. To do that, several very smart decisions were made regarding the objective design. First, we start with simplicity. Jump puzzles, then basic combat, then object summoning, then summoning puzzles, then upgrades, then puzzles you didn't even know were there until you got the upgrades, then more upgrades, every time you explore anything. Before you know it, you're exploring every nook and cranny not only because it feels good to earn the upgrade that got you there, but because you can bet on your little sticky limbs that there will be another upgrade waiting for you that will help you in a challenge you might not even know about yet. The game might as well not have a story at all, as I was entirely drawn just by the exploration's nature, but what story is there is undeniably charming and worth the literal seconds that are asked of you to read its silly exposition. Superland is definitely worth your time, unless you're some sort of stick in the mud.
When I chose to review Octopath Traveler by Square Enix for this episode of FreebieTV, what I expected was a run-of-the-mill turn-based JRPG. What I got was a run-of-the-mill turn-based JRPG. Is that a complaint? Not really. I like those. In fact, I willingly and happily played through the entire first chapter. I started the game as Henny, solely because of the fact that she has a pet snow leopard, and anyone who doesn't think that's dope is no friend of mine. Thing is, when the first cutscene started, everyone started talking in this weird Middle English dialect that straight up bordered on satire.
Looking not so glum, girl. I'm no tyro with green arrows and bruises on his bow arm.
I was seriously terrified that I'd be forced to endure this crap for the entire game. Thankfully, it's just her and her band of weirdos that speak like a theater school dropout, and her dialogue for the rest of the game was minimal. Crisis averted. So yeah, what can I say? It's a turn-based JRPG. You play a role, you take turns, and fights. It's Japanese. Sheesh, I don't know. Some of the combat systems are unique, like how different types of enemies are vulnerable to attacks from different weapons or elemental damage. Huh, no, that's pretty standard too. Ah hell, it's cliche as fuck, there I said it. At least it's pretty. I really do appreciate the juxtaposition of 2D sprites running around a 3D world with 16-bit textures complete with dreamy animations and pretty lighting effects. Some of the scenes in Octopath Traveler really do look stunning. It's also worth mentioning that as I was reviewing this game, I got absolutely kicked in the teeth by my COVID vaccine side effects. Sick and brain-dead Alec wanted to play an appropriately brain-dead game. That happened to be Octopath Traveler. It did, in fact, scratch the itch. There's no rush to do absolutely anything in this game. It was relaxing, and the familiarity of the JRPG model offered a lot of comfort when I needed it. So yeah, I guess just put this one on the list with all the other JRPGs you haven't played yet, and maybe get around to it someday.
Are you stuck in an endless cycle of your D&D startup campaigns? Abandoning your fourth failed co-op playthrough of Divinity Original Sin 2, which is fun yet empty when playing alone? Forget your friends. You don't need them. You need Pillars of Eternity Deadfire, Obsidian Entertainment's original fantasy IP created after their New Vegas entry into the Fallout franchise. Pillars is an intricately crafted, incredibly deep and detailed fantasy isometric CRPG, reminiscent of Baldur's Gate and Divinity. I should mention that also on Game Pass is Deadfire's predecessor, which shares the same name and subtitle. But as Deadfire is the only one with turn-based combat, I found myself okay with skipping the original and jumping onto the more modern sequel. The game does a great job onboarding fresh players story-wise and sets you off on your beach-wrecked ship in no time. The tutorial systems are lacking in a big way in the early hours though. Combat will feel confusing and messy. Different classes have different methods of ability recharge, different abilities will channel rather than fire instantaneously, which means they'll go off midway through another person's action. It's kinda chaotic, but it ends up feeling good and really unique. You can plan an AoE buff ahead of the group and then run into it, for example, or prepare a cone of fire to engulf Skelly Boys as they enter a room. Story-wise, Pillars shines. The histories, races, characters, abilities, everything. It's all original and well thought out. Characters in your party are actual characters, and you are too. It's a real breath of fresh air coming from Divinity, to be honest, where my player-made character felt like a blank slate sometimes for other characters to have stories around. The Pillars franchise has been a standout in this genre since its debut in 2015, and Microsoft has already begun pouring resources into the franchise since acquiring Obsidian. Avowed, announced last summer as a Skyrim-like set in the Pillars universe, and seeing as Obsidian has proven to understand that formula traditionally delivered by Bethesda, I'd say this is a story you might want to get familiar with sooner than later. That way you can be a big fucking know-it-all nerd when Avowed is a hit, at least that's my plan.